What if Anakin became the father during the Clone Wars? Let's start today's story on Mortis. The pivotal Clone Wars arc shows the father trying to convince Anakin to remain on Mortis and take his place as the father. Anakin refuses and says that his home is on Coruscant. I feel like after this moment, the father just sort of accepted Anakin's wishes and stopped trying to make him stay, which in my opinion is weird, because there are 100 ways the literal father of the Force could have made the chosen one remain. For example, the father shows Anakin a vision of the future if he doesn't become the father. Balance is thrown off, the galaxy is plunged by darkness, his wife and children die. This would certainly make Anakin reconsider, and he became a whirlwind of emotions. He didn't want to leave Padme, but ironically, going back to her will be the Senator's undoing. Anakin agrees to stay on Mortis. His training would begin immediately. Though powerful in the Force and a valiant Jedi, Anakin had a lot to learn about the living Force. He was unbalanced, impulsive, and struggled to live in the moment. The father helped Anakin with all of this, and very soon, Anakin grew extremely powerful. The son and daughter were often used in training exercises to help Anakin keep them in control. The son didn't like it, but he didn't have a choice. Whereas the daughter believed that this was necessary for the galaxy. Skywalker missed home, and wondered what Padme must have thought about all of this. One night, Anakin asked the father if he'd ever had a wife, or a woman that he loved. The father dropped his gaze to the floor, and it was clear that his heart was clenched. It was a long time ago, the father explained. He had fallen in love with a mortal woman who helped him keep control over his children. However, she grew older whilst he and his family stayed the same age, but she desired to be with us forever, and so she drank from the font of power and pool of knowledge, but her ideas backfired and corrupted her. She became evil, and we had to lock her away in an eternal prison. Since that day, the father explained that his children had lived here. As silence overcame them both, the father took Anakin to the place he spoke of. They arrived at the font of power. Anakin had been training for this moment for months now, learning how to maintain balance and not corrupt himself. The father explains that you can only drink and survive the fountain if your mind and body is completely pure and balanced. Anakin kneels and drinks, and he immediately begins to shake before his mind is thrusted into a vision. He receives glimpses of Coruscant, buried in flames and explosions, and the clone troopers gun down the Jedi Order. He sees Chancellor Palpatine igniting a red lightsaber and crackling with all of his dark side power. Anakin saw everything the galaxy had to offer. His power was unimaginable, but simultaneously, the Force peered into Anakin's soul, trying to understand if witnessing all this power gave Anakin the desire to use it, or the desire to keep control. Lucky for Skywalker, the Force accepted him. Anakin returns to life panting, and the father calms him. It was done. Anakin Skywalker was now a part of the Ones. Shortly after this, the father would die from old age. His mission was complete in finding a suitable successor. Hey guys, make sure to check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. We have a bunch of perfect replicas and other insane Padawan sabers for sale. Check them out on our website, first link in the description below, and grab your own one today. Anakin began his journey by using his powers for good. He kept balance in the galaxy and always relied on his teachings. The daughter helped him out a lot, and they worked together to make sure light and dark worked in symphony. Skywalker could see both the past, present, and future with the powers of the Ones. He had unlimited access to any information he desired to receive. He discovered that Palpatine was the Sith Lord that the Jedi Council were looking for, but he doesn't tell the Jedi or the Senate. This is because he must let the Force carry out its will, and if he interferes, he is not keeping balance. Anakin's job is to sit back and watch, and when he feels like balance is being distorted, then he intervenes. Anakin doesn't see the sun much, which is what he had expected, but whenever he does, the dark side of the Force is always billowing with hatred. The sun tries to act on Anakin's youth and tempts him to join the dark side, but Anakin refuses. Their relationship starts off very rocky, constantly getting into arguments and fights, which resulted in Anakin submitting to him. The son was testing Skywalker, seeing how far he was willing to go, how much courage and determination he had towards his new post. The son always loved and respected his father, but it's not like that with Anakin. The embodiment of the dark side tries to escape Mortis several times, but to no luck. He decides that he needs a better plan. The son lures Anakin's wife Padme to Mortis to come and see him. The two are very happy to see each other, and Anakin is relieved to find out that Padme isn't upset with him coming here. She believed he was doing his duty, but then the son plants a vision in Padme's head, which shows Padme the fictitious activities of Mortis, with Anakin and the daughter spending every second together and developing a romantic relationship. The senator of Naboo is enraged and heartbroken, and she screams and hits Anakin, lashing out like a fish who has just left the ocean. Anakin doesn't understand. For one, what Padme thinks she knows is simply false, and two, he doesn't know why she would think that. And then it clicks, it's the son. But it's too late. By the time Anakin brings his focus back to the children, the son is gone, abandoned Mortis, and entered the known galaxy. The son travels to Palpatine, where he tells the Sith Lord who he is. Sidious wouldn't know what to think, consumed by competitiveness, but also an uneasy feeling of becoming second. It was clear that Palpatine was intimidated. The one person who could be seen as more powerful would be the literal embodiment of the dark side. Anger rose in the Sith Lord as he feared that all of his work would go to waste just for him to become second in command. Nevertheless, he both didn't have a choice and knew that the son is his best path to Sith victory. Anakin and the daughter leave Mortis and go to the Jedi Council together. This is the first time Anakin has returned since he became the father, but the Jedi still welcomed him back with opened arms. Skywalker explains the situation at hand, that the embodiment of the dark side has escaped Mortis and was going to wreak havoc on the galaxy. "We believe he is going to try and find the Sith Lord and work with him," Anakin said, and the council began whispering to each other. Windu explains that the Sith Lord still evades them, and that he is a myth in the Jedi's mind. He has never revealed himself, always remaining in the shadows. Essentially, Windu is saying that finding the Sith Lord is impossible because in their mind, they aren't even certain that he is real. "My job is to keep balance, and I see everything that happens in the galaxy. I can assure you that he is real. I only ever involve myself if it threatens to keep balance, and now the dark side is growing." Obi-Wan asks Anakin to tell them who the Sith Lord is if he knows. Skywalker reveals that it is Palpatine who is the Sith Lord. The council's heads snap back and forth like a Gungan making a quick move against its prey. "The Jedi would have sensed if the Chancellor was the Sith Lord. I think this observation is impossible." Of course Windu would defy him, Anakin thought to himself, but he steadied his emotions.
"If true this is, great danger are we in?"
Anakin nods and says that together they can bring them down. Palpatine followed the son like a dog, whispering at his master to give him a treat. The son felt deified, but they got to work. They traveled to Droman Kass, where the son could access as much darkside power as possible. His strength was unimaginable, and Palpatine had never seen anything like it. He smelt like evil. It radiated off him like heat waves on a summer's day. While Palpatine idly stood by, the son used the Force to resurrect the spirits of Darth Revan, Bane, and Vitiate. In his mind, these were the three greatest Sith Lords in history. Returning to life, the Sith thanked the gargoyle and offered their allegiance to him. Palpatine couldn't believe it. His life was becoming more far-fetched by the second. They assembled their forces as they began a strike on the Republic capital. The thing that united them all was the hatred for the Jedi, and today, they would finally squash that itch. As they gather the Separatist army, they make their way for Coruscant. The council had been left scrambling since Skywalker dropped the bomb on them, but they couldn't find Palpatine anywhere. Each of them knew that something was wrong. But before they could pinpoint anything, several Separatist dreadnoughts jumped out of hyperspace and entered the Coruscant atmosphere. It was too late. All hell breaks loose as the clone army scatters to defend the planet. Republic cruisers are sent into space to meet the Separatists head on, while the Coruscant Guard tries to calm civilians. As the Sun and the Sith break their way through, carnage pours on the streets below. The Sith of old had waited thousands of years for this moment to enact their revenge. The Council calls the Jedi back to Coruscant as they all leave the temple and begin fighting. The streets of Coruscant become a battlefield as blasts of fire and explosions filled the air. The clones did what they could, stopping as many Separatist droids as they approached. But this fight would be decided by the Jedi and Sith.
Foolish you are, Palpatine, to think that you can destroy the Republic. Master Yoda, your arrogance blinds you.
The two swung with all of their might, and Windu took on Revan, Plo Koon, Bane, and the rest of the council assisted where they could. It was a fight for the ages. Meanwhile, the daughter and Anakin located the sun, who was gleaming with delight at the sight of the chaos. For almost 1,000 years, he had dreamed of this moment, dreamed of being part of a battle again. It's over, end this now and we can return to Mortis. The son disregarded Anakin's words. He didn't respect him. He believed Anakin was a fraud, pretending to be his father, but he wouldn't submit, not this time. Anakin and the daughter engage him as the duel of force powers unfolds. The son blasts a red force storm, which the daughter blocks, before shooting light beams back at him and flying into the air. Anakin didn't have these crazy powers like the children, but his innate connection to the Force was his strength. He dodged lightning bolts before pulling windows and debris from the building and tossing them towards his adversary. If the son wouldn't give up, then he would have to earn his respect the difficult way. The daughter made a desperate plea to her brother, but she too was ignored. Anakin struggled to keep up with their speed, and when the son grew tired of the battle, he quickly left and began attacking civilians. This was Anakin's final straw, and he rose into the air, holding himself up with the Force and tapping into the font of power's abilities. His eyes turned white as he raised his arms into the air. The son was trapped in place, and he began to scream. Moving every ounce of his body, he tried to escape, but Anakin had him. In a deep, menacing voice, Anakin told him to submit. It was over, and as everything went white, Anakin, the daughter, and son returned to Mortis, where Anakin threw his foe back on his side of the world. He told him that if he ever tried to escape Mortis again, Anakin would throw him in prison like the one his mother is in currently. Anakin hoped that would be enough to thwart his uncontrollable mind. Back on Coruscant, the spirits of the Sith disappeared after the sun returned to Mortis, and Palpatine was left alone in a fight with 12 council members and his identity being revealed. Everything had collapsed in a matter of days, and the Sith Lord perished in the battle. And so, the Republic successfully defended Coruscant, and the Separatists lost their leadership, and subsequently, the war. Anakin Skywalker had restored balance to the galaxy, and for the first time, he truly believed he could keep balance as the Father. Anakin invites the Jedi Council to Mortis.
Proud of you, we are.
Thank you, Masters. Even Windu offered Anakin his praise. They discussed terms about how Mortis could become recognized in the Republic. He believed it was important for the people of the galaxy to know that they are being overseen by embodiments of the Force, gods if you will. Before the Jedi left Mortis, Anakin showed them their path in the Force. He explained that they stepped off the path and this led to the Clone Wars. You can't be as politically focused. Return to peacekeepers, not soldiers. That's what the Republic wants of you, and more importantly, what the Force wants. A strong reform in the Jedi Order happened, and they stepped well away from the Senate, letting the politics run its course without getting involved. Anakin and Padme get back together after Padme learns that the son gave her that vision, and that Anakin has been nothing but faithful to her. She moves to Mortis with Anakin, and the great palace of the Force becomes her new home. She gets pregnant, and they have kids who they raise there too. Mortis became open to the public, and wasn't a place that was hidden like before. The most important thing to happen in the small planet's history was Padme being elected as the Senator of Mortis, as the planet officially joins the Republic and becomes recognized by everyone. Peace had been restored to the galaxy, and Anakin had finally become the father, both of the Force and of his children. Thanks for watching today's video. Head over to Fantasy Sabers for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. You won't be disappointed. And be sure to check out our membership program where you get exclusive content and all of our what ifs early. See you in the next episode, and may the Force be with you.